What is up, fellow sickos? I am Dan Favale coming at you with my certified fantabulous. He has lost 10% of his body fat while gaining 15 pounds of muscle since we last recorded. Not even over the offseason, but since we last recorded. Co-host Mr. Grant Hughes. Every single NBA Media Day is in the books. Training camps are officially open. So we are going to talk about takeaways, questions, observations, and we're excited to anyone who joins us since we kind of just threw this up, not randomly, but we warned you, but we didn't schedule it. We threw it up. So if anyone's here, has comments, we might try to get to them in the chat. But first, before we talk about a new NBA season beginning, Grant, give me your 5 best Giannis trade. Grant, how are you doing?
Yeah. I'm jealous that Caitlin Cooper, the GOAT, made the joke already of, I just like to announce that I'm in the exact same shape of my life, or some version of that. It's like, yeah, we're all there. Did you feel like there was a lot of best shape of my? We will get to some players that grew allegedly. That's fun, but
yeah, it's height watch now. It's not muscle watch. It's height watch,
and then skinny watch for a few people. Yeah, I kind of feel like baseball does an even more egregious, like, best shape of my life spring training thing than the NBA does.
Really?
But yeah. Oh, it's just like it is the same thing. Everyone's 15 pounds of muscle, which is like physically impossible. Like, it just over a 3-month span. It's like not even like, if you do that in like 2 years, that's incredible.
Right. I don't think that but the only sport where it makes some sense, but even it doesn't, is the NFL's offseason is forever.
Right.
And that's the one where but even that is that's such a short amount of time to pack on 10 pounds. That's insane.
Can't do it.
I could pack on 10 pounds in just a couple of days. It won't be muscle, though.
That's pretty easy. Yeah. I mean, it's the way you eat. I don't know if people know about what you're capable of.
We should. That would be a good live show. Is we're podcasting and I have one of my epic bowls of like brown rice pasta or something. I think we would scare the kids.
Paywall item for sure.
We'd scare the kids at home.
Yeah.
I don't want to put that out there.
Let's just start, Dan. Let's go to some Golden State Warriors / Al Horford stuff. Great question posed by you. Is he legally allowed into Chase Center yet? It's funny, like, the verbiage. Shams had Horford, Melton, and Payton all in some order. The verbiage was like, have agreed to or are prepared to commit to, and just basically not saying they've signed because they can't, because the Kuminga thing is hanging over everything. Was your read on this, is this too cynical? That my read on this, the timing of this being leaked, I guess, to Shams, even though everybody knows who the Warriors are going to get when everything settles, was just kind of like them projecting to Kuminga and his management that, like, hey, things are happening, man, like, with or without you. We're just over here getting business done. Come back to the table when you're ready. It felt that way to me a little bit, because, like, this has been known forever, and now, like, a couple days before the October 1st deadline for qualifying offer stuff, this comes out. It felt deliberately timed to me.
I think that you could be right. I actually didn't read it that way initially. I thought it was more so they were going to announce the minimum signing so that these guys could be at training camp, although we didn't hear about Seth Curry yet. And I thought they were kind of doing a solid for Al Horford to the optics not be, oh, you're this valuable free agent, but you're still just floating around unsigned on the market. Maybe it was a combination of both. Yours seems to make more sense, but yeah, it's just hysterical. And also the way that things are getting worded, like when you're reading reporters or listening to them on TV, the amount of hedging that goes on, it's like a quadruple negative at this point. It's like seems intent on potentially signing with the Golden State Warriors or something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's that, and then Shams gets a lot of heat for, like, how the posts that he writes are written, and I'll just say he deserves it, because they don't make a lot of sense most of the time.
If his writing was put through the team of editors that reads my work, I feel like they would cut down on a lot of the words there. So it's just rough stuff for him.
So these aren't like in answer to the question, is Al Horford legally allowed in the Chase Center? I don't know, because I don't think he's technically on the team yet, right? Like, I guess he could be like a guest. He probably needs a guest pass and has to sign in at security at this point. Let's assume this all gets done and the Kuminga situation resolves somehow, in which he's still on the team. I kind of love the Horford fit, and I kind of love the Melton fit, because we got, like, just a shred of proof of concept for Melton last year. He started a couple times. Who knows with the ACL, but the Horford fit in particular, like that's great, right? Like there's no other than he's old and the whole team is old, but like it's kind of a perfect fit, I think.
Yeah, I think aside from if they think they need to overtax him because of how important it is to have spacing at the 5 with Jimmy Butler
Mhm.
and Draymond Green, and then assuming Jonathan Kuminga's in the equation, this is just a fantastic fit. And they can run certain offensive actions through him too, especially if
Yeah.
Steph is off the floor. It's once it becomes official, I think
Right.
it becomes one of the best signings of the summer. But the other thing here is just like Grant, when is the Jonathan Kuminga situation actually going to end? Is it do you think that the the drop dead date is October 1st, which is when his qualifying offer would expire? They could agree to of course extend that, but I don't
Right.
know at that point for the Warriors it's okay, so we'll just not let Al Horford like be with the team for training camp and learn our core tenets. I don't get it.
But my guess was always that Kuminga's side has known forever like which of the available offers they were going to take, and they were just going to take it to October 1st no matter what. That's not that's just my that's just a guess. That's because like I don't understand, like it's not like there's been any movement really, right? We got this like, well, the Kings are interested, and then immediately was like, but also no traction. So like there's never been a change in circumstances over the course of this thing. We know what the offers are. There's three like basic ones on the table from Golden State, and like there hasn't been any negotiation for a long time. So I assumed that by October 1st this would just get done one way or the other. It is true that this deadline could be extended, but I think from the Warriors perspective it's just like we got to get guys in camp and kind of get started, right? So like I don't know what the solution is if this does go beyond October 1st. I don't like what do you do? Like, does Kuminga just remain a free agent and not play or make any money? Like, I don't know what the end game is.
What have your thoughts changed on what you think is the either most likely outcome or the best deal, the best middle ground deal for the parties that are like we know all these things that are on the table, the 3-1, the 1+1. He wants it sounds like a 2+1, or maybe they only want a 1+1.
It doesn't it feel like maybe the straight 2 years kind of feels like the middle ground because you got to admit like the Warriors are playing very hardball by insisting on a team option, and that's like just not.
Plus waiving the implicit no trade. Yeah.
Yeah, the team option is not something that you typically see. I don't think you see that often with the player like at this age and at this like sort of state of his like contractual life in the NBA. It's like it's Fred VanVleet getting one a couple of years ago because he's older and who knows what the Rockets want to do, and or it's like I'm trying to think of other notable team options. Like the player option is by far the more common thing, especially for an early 20s guy that
Yeah.
So they're not gonna. I don't think they're giving him a player option. And if I'm him, I'm like the team option does feel like a little like aggressive. So maybe it's just the straight 2 years for 45 or whatever it is. That I don't know. That'd be my guess as of today, but I haven't had a feel for this the whole time.
Andrew Willett says always have spacing at the 5 with Post and Al. Look at Andrew Willett out here mentioning Quentin Post's
Beat
person
us to
after her own
the
heart.
Quentin Post mention.
Can't overtax Al if Post is playing 40 plus minutes a night. Rim protection numbers on Quentin Post aren't the worst.
Andrew gets it. I mean,
Yeah.
9.4 3-point attempts per 36. So crank it up to 40. He's getting 10 threes.
Picking up the team option was arguably the single best move that any team made this
No
offseason.
argument here. You want to move on to the Sixers here and Quentin Grimes stuff, the other restricted free agency saga.
This seems like it's just going to end with him signing a balloon 1-year payment now, right?
Is that what you think? I have an even less like cogent grasp of what is happening with this one because the offers from the Sixers are so the 4 for 39 just seems like it's insane to me that they're offering anything below the mid-level, like just mid-level money. I don't understand that's I mean, if anything, this is the harder hardball being played. The Warriors are playing hardball, but that's a wild offer.
That is an insulting offer. Like, is it just someone in the front office like snorted a laxative pill and then just went like, let's just throw this out as a stab in the dark to see if it works? How do you present that with a straight face or a serious tone, however it was sent out there? Which is why, because it's been confirmed now by like 2 or 3 outlets, I sort of wondered, oh, they're going to take this to October 1st. Maybe they're the team that extends it. They got guys who are banged up anyway. Quentin Grimes, at least, he's played for them. It's not like this is a new free agent they're trying to hammer things out with. So you push that, but it sort of feels like I thought he was going to be the one that signed his qualifying offer or got like a real multi-year deal. And now I just kind of think that they're going to sign him for like, I don't know, 16 or 18 million bucks on the 1-year deal. And then the team that trades for him can just hope that 120% raise off that would be enough to keep him. What I find most interesting, though, is that doesn't it seem like the Sixers are trying to negotiate this with the intent of trading him now?
Well, I mean, at this point, you've maybe pissed him off so much that you sort of have to. That's not unlike the Kuminga situation where it's like you're kind of, if the relationship wasn't wrecked, it sort of is now because of how these negotiations have gone. So you almost by default have to treat him as a trade chip as opposed to a player you intend to put in your rotation. I do think it's interesting, like, who do you think between Kuminga and Grimes is most important to his team this year? Because when I think of the Warriors rotation, I almost don't even consider Kuminga. Just like, I mean, he'll play, but it's like, I don't know, he's just, but Grimes is kind of similar because I guess he's a little bigger than the other wings they have, but they do have Edgecombe, they do have Maxey, not a wing, and they do have, well, I guess maybe McCain's thumb injury now is maybe makes Grimes look a little more important.
Yeah, but the other thing that's interesting too is do they not want are they hoping to trade him eventually while getting out of the tax? They're sub $2 million below the tax right now without him on the books, so they have plenty of room beneath the aprons. They're 9.8 below the first apron, which makes me wonder, like, is that what they were trying to accomplish with the 4 for 39? Is staying under that, or they're 21.7 below the second apron, and so. This team's expensive, is injured, it's a wild card. I thought the lack of concrete offers we had heard almost made me think that this was the situation we didn't need to give a ton of critical thought to. It's like they're just going to figure it out. And it turns out that behind the scenes, this might actually be, at least it seems there appears to be some type of back and forth between the Warriors and Kuminga. But if you're Grimes and his representation, like 4 for 39, even as a joke or as a starting point, it's insulting.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, and I'll try to pull the comments up here. James notes, like 3 teams have traded Quentin Grimes. Is there something we don't know? That we're kind of there now, right? Because it's like, based on how he played down the stretch last year, he's not a sub $10 million a year player unless there's just something going on. I mean, like the market is kind of dictating this, giving the Sixers the ability to play things this way. But it is also to the point where it's like that the offers are so low that it's like, what is happening with him that we don't know about?
Right. The thing, when he was with the Knicks, we know he wanted the ball more. And so maybe that was the impetus. If like that is the one you look at and say, oh, was there a cardinal sin happening there? Because with Detroit, he was kind of injured, so I don't know what you were supposed to glean from that. And they trade him over the offseason. Then with the Mavs, I thought he played fine with them last year. They didn't want to pay him, which is why they moved him. And then for the Sixers to know that and to acquire him and then still offer like they could really be trying to play up their leverage on the restricted free agency market, but you knew he was going to restricted free agency. You knew the reason he didn't want to be in Dallas or Dallas was trading him was because he was about to get paid. So I'm not really sure what they're trying to do here. And I guess it's not that I thought they viewed him as a keeper, but if you are open to signing him for a 1-year deal, like you've just pretty much decided that you're not going to bring him back after this season, which is you laid out. You have McCain, you have Maxey, you have Edgecombe. Is that the flashbulb moment is them drafting Edgecombe is kind of, they're like, what is Quentin Grimes' role here moving forward? Maybe that's how they're viewing this.
I think that's a possibility. Let's get to some other Sixers stuff here because unfortunately, there's a fair amount to talk about. We already mentioned Jared McCain's thumb. Paul George says he's got plenty left in the tank, but still recovering from offseason knee surgery. Between Embiid having no timeline, like, is this a gap year situation in your opinion, or can you really? I mean, last year, I was kind of the mind that, circumstances changed over the course of the year, but like my sort of basic summation of the Sixers situation was like, you have Joel Embiid. He was an MVP like months ago at the time. So you can't do a gap year, and you just spent $250 million on Paul George. Like, this is not a gap year situation. Circumstances sort of forced it to become one, and they wound up with Edgecombe because of it and some luck. You can't do that again, can you? Like, you can't. You have to try to win as many games as possible.
I think because their pick that they owe to OKC is top 4 protected, it takes a gap year off the table. But my question would be, are they going to be healthy enough to not be forced into an involuntary gap year?
Then it's not a gap year in that case. It's just like it's a lost. Maybe it's a lost year or something. We need a different term for it.
Shouldn't the expectation at this point, okay, Paul George isn't going to be ready. Joel Embiid was in the Sixers' first practice, but there's no timeline for his return. And I would think, maybe I'm wrong, you don't treat his return, if it's imminent, like a guarded secret. You would want to shout that from the rooftops to get kind of the good hype that comes with it. So the McCain injury, what the hell is going on with Quentin Grimes? And if you sign him to a one-year deal, you planning on trading him? And how much do you trust? Edgecombe's a rookie. So maybe he's really good right out of the gate, but if you're playing him, there's going to be some type of learning curve there. And they have dudes, I would say, in this roster, but you don't trust most of, like Kyle Lowry's on this team still. Okay, Kelly Oubre Jr.'s there. There's Andre. It's just, this is a weird. The whole thing comes back to, can Joel Embiid be healthy for what? For the Sixers, for you to feel good about the Sixers as a regular season team in terms of seeding. How many games does Joel Embiid need to play in?
Bare minimum 50. Like,
okay,
it has to be 50.
Let's assume he hits that. We've still never seen him healthy in the playoffs, but if he can get, like, their whole thing, coming into last year, as I'm stumbling through my words, I was at least confident. I thought they'd be able to navigate life without Joel Embiid because of Paul George, because of Tyrese Maxey. I was very high on the Paul George signing. I liked the Cody Martin signing, Caleb Martin signing, and now it's just, it seems like their entire plan is like, well, maybe we'll get lucky and Joel Embiid will play in 50 games and be 75% by the playoffs, because I don't see the theory of this team without that happening. And even that, to me, just feels like a very I don't know if you've listened or read any of kind of like the preseason prediction. Like, no one is factoring in the Sixers as a real threat this year, which is kind of insane, but also you stop and you really think about it. Yeah, like, that makes sense.
Isn't the right read on them, like, the regular season, they can't prioritize the regular season. So the only way this works out well for them is if they somehow avoid the play-in and magically their main guys are healthy enough for like a sustained playoff run. The problem is, like, Embiid has had much healthier starts to seasons and then not held up for a full season in playoffs. So it's just like even the like, okay, this is the hard way to get it done seems unrealistic, just because in easier times Embiid couldn't do that. So I don't think you can, newsflash, I don't think you can consider them a real contender, even if we all agree that, like, well, if all their best players are healthy and on the floor, they can beat anybody. Like, if Embiid and Paul George and Tyrese Maxey and just throw in all the other supporting players you mentioned are like at as close to 100% or whatever 100% is for them at this stage, like, that's a really good team. Like, Embiid is still a problem but it's just like, you can't count on that. It's not, it's just not realistic.
So, quick exercise. Which team wins more games, the Sixers or the Celtics?
Well, I think I have to say the Sixers, because I think the Celtics might be, like, if the Celtics are over 500, I think I'm surprised. But the Sixers, I could see them going 44, 45 wins. And like, maybe that's like a upper middle outcome for them.
Sixers or the Pacers?
Sixers. I think the Pacers are going to be like mid to low 30s.
Sixers or the Heat?
I think I still pick the Sixers again.
Sixers or the Raptors?
See, I just did win totals, so this is unfortunate. I'm really getting stuck. So I know exactly how many games I think. I think I said the Sixers would win more, so I'll stick with that.
Sixers or Bucks?
Sixers, although that one's really close, I think.
Wow. You have a lot more trust in the Sixers than I do. I think they just scarred me finally last season.
I don't think they can win 50, like in the regular season. That seems impossible, but all the teams you mentioned I have in like the mid 30s to the like low 40s.
Regulator says a healthy Joel Embiid is the best player in the Eastern Conference, in my opinion. I think that's a fair case to make. When you know the backstop of the health stuff, I don't know why you would ever pick him over Giannis at this point, just in that conversation. I couldn't get there.
Yeah, I think Giannis still has to be on top of that list. What else we got here? I think that's enough for the Sixers. Let's get to the Boston Celtics here. Incredible, like, clips out there of Jayson Tatum doing workouts and stuff, and like I think nobody totally shot down the idea that or nobody really put out there the concept that he's going to come back this year. I think it was more accurate to say like he's not ruling it out. He's also just kind of keeping it open-ended in the whole one day at a time recovery thing. Like pretty interesting, I think, for him to be not quite dismissing the possibility of coming back this year. Is that just him being a really great competitor and things have gone pretty well so far, so he's optimistic? Or is that just like, I don't know, we're trying to not lose a bunch of season ticket sales? Like, how do you read the Tatum optimism at this point? And for that matter, part B, should Boston want him to play this year, or should they be the ones saying like, nah, this is a 26-27 thing?
My read on it is that the Celtics haven't told him he's sitting out the entire year then, because why would you come out and say unless he's trying to subliminally put pressure on them, which again, I don't know why he would do. I think this is more so your first part of the answer, which is Jayson Tatum comes from the Kevin Durant mold of seems like he just really wants to hoop and always wants to play. And I think even innately as a competitor, unless your team tells you you're definitely not playing next season, that the hope is going to be you can get back. And I will say, though, I don't know like any of the science behind it. The videos, I try not to get hyped up about videos, but the videos of him just running like
it's
up and
shocking.
down the court. Yeah, that was, and the gait looks a little off, but still, like how many months he had surgery within basically 24 hours of the injury. So how many months removed
it's
are
five.
we? So
it's
5.
5 months, I think he said today. Which is like, I mean, he's not halfway done, not even close to halfway back, right? Like, if assuming just under a year is like, I mean, like Adrian Peterson is the one that always gets cited as like, that's an incredible recovery. I forget, his was like 8 months or 9 months. Like NFL players do make it in less than a year. I don't know why that is, but this needs to be a year. You can't do this.
Do you think that there is an Andrew Willett, Celtics fan here? I sure hope he doesn't play. He is moving insanely well though. But do you think there could be value in everyone's talking about, why would you want to bring him back like when the playoffs are just starting up, as if the Boston Celtics are going to be firmly in the playoff mix? And I think the moves they've made over the offseason telegraph that, not that they're actually going to try and pivot away, but that I would be shocked if there's not some maintenance program for Jaylen Brown and Dereck White, in which case you're not going to be firmly in the playoff mix. You don't think there's value in kind of, do you remember what Paul George did in Indy a while ago? He came back for like 5 games. Do you think there's value in getting that just gameplay under your belt?
I was going to say that exact thing. Like, I do think it takes the pressure off the season opener of next year if he comes back and plays once or twice or something. I do think there is value in that, but not nearly enough value to be like, well, it's like touch and go. We think he's okay. Like it can't be that. It's got to be like he's 112% back, and you're just gonna do it. Like it can't be like a chancy thing.
Right. Yeah. I think even if you were going into the playoffs, you shouldn't view it that way. But I wonder if it would take some of the pressure off of the start of next season, where that buildup of, Jayson Tatum's playing his first game, they have to be contenders again. It would still be there to some extent, but I think I would root for it because one, it would just be super cool, but I also think it might make, I don't know what it actually does for him getting the feel of what it's like to play in a game, but to get that moment out of the way almost, I actually think is a pretty big deal.
I agree. Let's move to another East team here. I think we've covered some Celtics. So Giannis, is Giannis the biggest troll in NBA history is the question we're answering. I mean, he's up there. So Jamal Collier confirmed Shams' report that Giannis did like weigh his options, that was the money quote early in the offseason of, I think he was even like, this offseason more than ever, Giannis is prepared to weigh his options. Giannis made some comments about like, he's very committed to Milwaukee. He had conversations with Wes Edens. And, his family loves it there. And then because he has COVID, he wasn't at media day. He was on a Zoom call, says he doesn't remember that conversation. And kind of the thrust of this was like, he wants to win a championship. It can be in Milwaukee or it can be somewhere else. And he's going to evaluate his like path towards that title every offseason. It's very much like, okay, so he's back, but also is just very much looking around still. Which like, I don't know. First of all, how do you feel about that stance in general? And then maybe the second part of the question is, how do you feel about him like broadcasting that all the time? Like, I don't know.
I still feel like he's feeding the machine on purpose a little bit.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't have a problem with him saying it's kind of. I understand why people downplay it. It's just the reality of basically every superstar situation when you get deep. Like once you get past that second contract to where you're on your rookie scale, we know how extensions work from there. After that, I feel like that's kind of what you're doing. It's just evaluating year by year, especially because free agency doesn't freaking matter anymore. I'm actually still laughing at the way ESPN even framed the report from Jamal Carr's like Shams had to be tagged in the tweet referencing his previous report. This wasn't Jamal Collier confirming. This was Shams was right. And he caught so much crap for it that Giannis was shopping around only to return to Milwaukee. I just find it funny that there was clearly something to the effect, like, no, we got to like make everyone know that Shams wasn't pulling things out of his butt, which I think even if you were making jokes about it like I was, you know that Shams isn't, you get into the politicking of news breaking. There's a lot of stuff to talk about there, but you're not actually making these things up. That is not happening at the level of ESPN.
So, but with respect specifically to Giannis, I got on Kobe about this like years ago when he signed that ridiculous 2 year. At the time, it was ridiculous. 2 years, $48.5 million with the Lakers, which was too much money for them.
Took a pay cut though.
Yeah, right. And I was just like, he can't say the only thing he cares about is winning and then sign a deal that prevents his team from doing anything else. I don't know if I'd make that same argument today, just because, like, if you're a player, you should get what you can. But for Giannis, okay, all he cares about is winning a championship. How does he decide, looking at the Bucks' current roster and future situation, like no picks, just dead money of Damian Lillard's contract on the books forever? How does he evaluate his situation and decide, like, this is actually the place for me to win a championship or to continue to apply pressure? It's like, you can apply all the pressure you want. The Bucks don't have anything else to do. Like, they cannot build you a championship roster. So if you're serious about winning another championship is what you want, you can't look at the Bucks and be like, this is one. If you're ranking teams most likely to win the next NBA championship, like, are the Bucks in the top 15? Like, I don't think so. So like, how do they do it?
So you just said they're not even going to be a top 6 team in the East by saying that then.
Well, you tell me how a team with Giannis, Miles Turner, and a bunch of minimum guys and Kyle Kuzma that can't get better, like, realistically, how is this going to happen?
Well, so two things is that one, I think that there's a not insignificant chance that he does this to keep other teams on the hook. And then they're not going to act, and by extension, that does help. I just won't rule it out.
Okay, you think? I don't know.
First of all, that'd be A+ gamesmanship. I'm not saying that's what's most likely. In this situation specifically, I think that they sold him on the idea of you get to be point Giannis for a season. Let us show you the infrastructure we have around you, and then we can trade 3 first-round picks next summer, and that's when we will go big name hunting again. Okay. And then if they don't make good on that, that's when he almost gets moved without having to ask to get moved. It's they mutually decided to part ways, like they couldn't figure something out. With that said, I do agree with you that I don't think publicly, outwardly facing, he can't say the Bucks aren't contenders, though, can he? You'd be giving him shit for that. We're not going to win this year, but I'm pretty happy.
I don't know if I'd be giving him shit. I think some part of me would be like, well, at least he understands the situation. No, I don't know. I always kind of bump on the idea of, like, he's playing the game. Like, he's trying to make sure his team knows, like, you don't take me for granted, which I don't think certainly the Bucks are not. Like, the Bucks have bent over backwards to just, like, at every step, like, what do we got to do to give this guy the supporting cast he needs and to broadcast to him that we want to win now because of you, which is what you should do when you have a player like him. And especially after he's won you a title already. I have a hard time, like, and if it's, he likes living in Milwaukee and doesn't want to change teams, like, that's great. I think he should do that. Like, just stay put if you're comfortable there. But I don't think you can't sort of have it both ways. Like, you can't just constantly put the championship pressure on a team that can't, like, meet that pressure.
So do you think this situation is going to end up being messy then at the end of it all? Is that where you're?
I don't know. I think the Bucks are happy to have him, and I think he's happy to get to keep like reestablishing that he is the singular driving force of this franchise. And I don't know. I don't think it's going to get messy. I just like you can't say you just want to win another title and then be like, I'm staying with the Bucks.
Well, here's my thing though. Couldn't you? I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here.
Sure.
Couldn't you look at the rest of the East and say Tatum injury, Halliburton injury, the Cavs have been banged up and wilted the past 3 playoff runs. Isn't there an element, and then the Sixers are just implosive. Yeah. Is there not an element of anything is possible in the Eastern Conference, especially if you're Giannis, one of the 3 best players in the league? Is it really erroneous to think that way?
Here's the problem.
The other thing, where were you going to go that would have guaranteed you a significant better chance at winning a title that was also realistic? Because you could say the Warriors, you could say the Knicks, but like those are the teams, and there are other teams like those are teams that didn't have the trade packages to give Milwaukee that wouldn't kind of screw them over. I guess the Warriors had a real package, but it wouldn't compare. Like, okay, sorry, Giannis on the Spurs, would they have better title equity in a conference that has the Oklahoma City Thunder than the Bucks do right now in the Eastern Conference?
No, but well, I don't know, probably not. But you could at least be like, oh, he's the next 5 years. Talk about anything could happen if you hitch on with Wemby. Like I could at least see the vision there. But I think you're right to point out, like I'm projecting what I would be thinking about my situation if I were Giannis. The thing about Giannis and players like him is that like, no, the reason he is where he is because he believes he can do anything. And he's sort of been proven right. Several, like, he's been an MVP, he's won a title. So like he might actually think that he can do this with the Bucks. And that way of thinking has gotten him a long way. So maybe that's the problem is I'm thinking what me, a normal person, would be thinking in that situation with my level of self-confidence versus his. It's a little bit different.
You ready to move on?
Yeah, let's move on to some Kevin Durant talk here. Basically, we need to know when he's going to sign an extension because he did say today at Media Day that he sees himself signing an extension, but does not know when that is going to happen. If he does, this is worth noting, he can sign for more if he waits until the 6-month window has passed after being traded.
A total of like but it's between $2 or $4 million is the difference.
Which maybe, I don't know, maybe that matters to him, but that would run counter to some of the whispers we've heard since he got there that like it might not be a full max extension.
That's what I was thinking that's why I find the absence of one notable. I don't think it's damning, but I also don't know what it tells us when you have all of these reports or just harbingers of, oh, he's going to take less, then okay, waiting the 6 months doesn't matter because he's not trying to prioritize every dollar. And if he is trying to prioritize every dollar, I think if you're Houston, you probably still have to do it and short term enough that you navigate it, but that's not ideal when you're looking at your roster structure moving forward. Amen Thompson's going to be extension eligible after this year. Tari Eason extension eligible right now, and Şengün's on his deal. Jabari's deal will kick in next season. So I had kind of assumed he was going to end up at like 2 for $100. And now I'm just sort of I'm just clocking. I don't think it's anything sinister, but I do find it notable that he hasn't signed one yet.
It's just hard to parse. I don't know what the reason for that would be. Let's talk some other Rocket stuff here. This idea floating that they might play the biggest lineup of all time with Amen Thompson, Kevin Durant, Alperen Şengün, Jabari Smith, and Steven Adams. As an avowed small ball lover, Dan, first of all, this must make you sick to your stomach. You must hate this just with every fiber of your being.
This is an affront to what basketball is supposed to be, which is just a bunch of 6 foot, 8 inch.
Tall people should not play basketball.
Correct.
You've said it 1,000 times. I think you're right about it.
I saw a lot of Rockets fans doing the whole, well, they played like so-and-so here last year. This isn't a far departure. I'm like, they played 40 possessions last year with Amen Thompson at the 1 and Jabari Smith Jr. as a would-be 3. That is insane. And I still want to see it. I don't have a problem with this. I have no idea what it looks like on offense. I would argue that the only way they survive is on the is that even a transition lineup? You have Amen Thompson, so maybe the answer is just yes.
The transition player that might on his own. This is part of a trend, right? Like with Dallas is big, the Thunder can play 2 bigs, the Clippers can have a big front court now because they have John Collins and they have Brook Lopez with Ivica Zubac. Like, I don't especially because we have to mention Reed Shepherd, Andrew, when we talk about
he should be playing center. That's how basketball was meant to be played. Is someone who looks like a plumber, jumping center. JJ Redick understands.
I want to get to the question we have on here on the video in a second, but like more broadly, how did this happen? I thought we've come a long way from Roy Hibbert becoming unplayable overnight and going through the pace and space and the 5 out and the Rockets and the Warriors and like Daniel Tice being a viable like 6'9" starting center on some good Celtics teams, like, and Bam being a finals starting center because he can guard all 5 positions, and everybody, like, how did we get here? Like what has happened strategically that has allowed big ball to like just be a thing now? Like what happened? I don't understand. I'm honestly asking.
Let me take you on a journey. Let us harken back to the year is 2013, I believe. Mm-hmm. One of one of the wisest people ever to coach the game of basketball said, "The East is big, man." Mike Woodson saw it coming. And from there, here we are. You fast forward another 12, 13 years, look where we are.
I really do think the Knicks could have been vindicated by pairing Eddie Curry and who it was, like Eddie Curry and was it Tyson Chandler at the same time? Did they get both of them together? Am I missing?
Wasn't that Stat and Chandler? That wasn't the Eddie Curry.
Who was Eddie? Who did they? It was Isaiah Thomas was in charge, another Knicks luminary from the past. I can't remember now, but yeah, I don't understand how.
Well, don't you think? I have a real answer. Don't you think it's because they're trying to capitalize on a market inefficiency of you're going to try and come at us with not a lot of size, that we're going to try and punish you with a ton of size to where we're going to be able to gum things up for you offensively. And in some of these instances, okay, our offense won't be pretty, but we'll be able to feast on the offensive glass. And I do think there might just be an element of Amen Thompson is just basically like a new species.
So that's kind of the most persuasive thing to me is because it used to be, okay, you're going small, we'll get bigger, and then small would just win because teams just weren't sophisticated enough about how to defend lineups that space the floor, and they're just better at it now. Like they know who they can leave. They understand like, well, we're going to concede above the break threes. Those are fine. We don't care. We just can't naturally there's a pendulum swing. But even that doesn't satisfy me as much as like, well, now there's just Amen Thompsons, and there didn't used to be Amen Thompsons. And so that's like, that solves, small ball doesn't work against him. The like being able to play Adams and Şengün together and winning like with offensive rebounds and slowing the game down, that I'm still trying to wrap my head around. Because it just feels like this happened so quickly. And I wonder if what would be really exciting, especially for you, avowed small ball lover, is if there's another swing back and it's like, guess what? You can't play one big anymore. Forget about two. Like it's just everybody has to be 6'7" or something like that. Maybe we swing back that way. I hope that'd be fun.
And your point gets more weight because it's not like we have a bunch of Evan Mobleys running around out there where you just look and say, okay, there are these guys that are sized like bigs, but they can play on offense with the ball in their hands like guards or wings some of the time. I mean, look, there's like Jabari Smith Jr. might be one of those types of players. So yeah, the fact that we're here with you're looking at a team that'll legitimately be like, yeah, we'll play Kevin Durant at the 2 or is Jabari the 2, and that's who cares. And that gets into, well, we're getting rid of positions, or there's also a chance that, like, do you think small ball just becomes this misnomer because people realize they couldn't replicate the few teams that were able to do? Who came closest to mirroring what the Warriors did?
It was
Houston.
The Rockets. Yeah. PJ Tucker at the 5 and then wings around James Harden. And like, honestly, they should have probably made a finals with that team. But nobody else you're right. Nobody else has really, I struggle to think of who really has come. I guess the Celtics.
The Thunder when they're injured?
The Thunder when they're injured, sure. Al Horford, if you consider him like a smaller 5. I mean, the Celtics won a title with kind of 2 guards, 2 wings, and Horford. But like they had Porzingis, and I don't know. Yeah, maybe that's just like, well, the Warriors kind of did it, and that's the reason we think there was a small ball revolution.
Which model do you think that is the harder model to replicate too, to where that's the bigger anomaly than let's just go find like 2 to 3 massive human beings that don't necessarily fit the positional ideals, but well, they're going to gum things up anyway. We'll slow things down and just be absolutely huge.
Yeah. It seems like it should be harder to get away with playing Draymond Green at center on a title winner. It seems like that should be harder to do.
Right. So it's harder to find that player than it is to find this.
Yeah. You can go find big guys and teach them this defensive scheme that seems to work. I don't know. And just how hard is it to go be like, we need to get every offensive rebound That seems doable with less skillful or rare players.
I will say that, and I know Kyrie's going to come back at some point, but the Mavs seem to be the team they're like really pushing this bill on how much it works, because you could say the Rockets too, but the idea of Reed Shepherd, Fred VanVleet before he got injured, and Kevin Durant, like there are shooters on this team. And then you get to the Mavs, and it's like, nope. Nope.
All right, let's get to, let's see. Oh, oh yes, the West is growing. I'm glad we hit this one. Dereck Lively says he's 7'2" or 7'3". If you're going to come out and say you grew, I'm going to need an exact number. I would just like to put that out there. We can't, let's not. So Victor Wembanyama, maybe 7'4". What do you make of this? Is this actually a real thing, or is this just like, because everybody got shorter for a minute there when the NBA started measuring without shoes and using those official measurements? Is this just shoes are back? Is that the issue, or are these guys actually getting taller?
I honestly don't know, but I think I read somewhere that like it's very rare this actually happens, even though these guys are super young at this age. I will, however, say, speaking of new species, you can tell me anything about Victor Wembanyama, and I will just believe it.
Right.
So honestly, in my mind, 7'4", he might have shrunk for all we know. I feel like he came into the league and everyone was so scared that he was 7.5 feet that they were lowering his height. Now they're gradually going to bring it up each year as people get more comfortable with the idea of this 7.5 foot human being dominating the league.
Easing us in. That's what this is. I feel like it's just
bold
so
to do it after another year where he didn't play, like where his season was cut short this time with the DVT. But do you believe it? Like and also, what is the value in lying about it?
Well, that's the question, right? What do you gain? Especially if I were Dereck Lively, I'd be like, actually, guys, I'm 6'5" now, and I hear you need guards. So I think he needed to go the other way, because that's the ticket to minutes, I would say, on a Dallas team that already has several players that are too tall.
I believe. Yeah. I thought when we were 7'5", but you know what? That sounds small. I think that people were uncomfortable with the height, and they thought it meant that he was going to be injured a bunch and not play. So over time, we will finally know Wemby's true height, and when he's 8'3" after being in the league for like a decade, or he's still growing. He's 30 years old, but he's still growing.
You want to get to the Utah Jazz here?
Well, I want to know I want to know how much validity on a scale of 1 to 10 are you placing it? Because I don't know the value add of lying, but this also just seems so ridiculous.
I'll say 7.2 to 7.3 is how much validity I give it, just to stick with Dereck Lively's height. Nice,
good job there. I forgot to include this on the outline, but Cooper Flagg mentioned, Grant, that he obviously was the word he used, wants to win Rookie of the Year. Can anyone what is the pick if it's not Cooper Flagg?
Man. So this is like, is it Cooper Flagg or the field, or do I have to give you like an actual? Because like, I mean, Harper is the obvious pick, just especially now that, as we'll get to eventually here, De'Aaron Fox has a hamstring issue to go with recovering from offseason finger surgery. I guess I don't know, can't remember if it was the offseason or the end of last season when he had it. But I don't think Harper's going to have a big enough role. So I don't know. What do you guys? It's not Edgecombe, same issue, like kind of a positional glut there. Although maybe I don't know. I'm not sure.
Couldn't it be like Ace Bailey, or I could see say Trey Jones? That'd be weird if Trey Jones won Rookie of the Year. Trey Johnson. Those feel like the two to me.
Trey
that
Johnson
stand out.
might score enough. Like, since who's going to do it on that team? That could be a possibility. I could see that. Man, I don't know. Bailey feels like he's going to average 16 points, but might shoot under 40% from the field. Like, I just don't think you're winning Rookie of the Year that way. Like, what Flagg would just have to get hurt, I feel like, for a season like that to win Rookie of the Year. And let's not speak anymore about that possibility.
No, we'll move on. Wait, I hope you didn't jinx it. Everyone bookmark this in case he did.
I said I won't talk about it. So Walker Kessler, not a restricted free agency stalemate thing. We've talked about this a little bit, but do you think? So we've talked about why, like the Jazz, he is extension eligible. He has not gotten a rookie scale extension yet, despite the fact that he's one of like two actual NBA starters on this team. Lauri Markkanen's the other one. He was famously paid a couple off seasons ago, or it seems like 100 years ago.
It's last year.
Was it last year? Whatever. What is time, Dan? I couldn't remember when De'Aaron Fox had surgery. You think I'm going to remember Markkanen? So he admitted today that he was frustrated with the lack of extension. I'll give you the full quote here from Sarah Todd of the Deseret News. Kessler said, "I know today's media day, so I was assuming I'd get a question like this about the extension. So I just want to say I don't want to talk about it after today, just because I think during the season, tomorrow's training camp, it's the start of the season. I don't want it to be a distraction for me or my teammates. That being said, I'm definitely a little frustrated with how, I don't, but regardless, I love Utah. I love the fan base. I love my teammates. I love the coaches. And as long as I have a Utah Jazz jersey on, I'll play winning basketball." Continues to say all the right things.
Well, one, do we think he's going to recall this conversation about loving Utah? Maybe his family's happy there. Ryan Smith should maybe get this recorded just in case he goes back to ask him when he
works
forgets.
for Giannis. So the reason he doesn't have an extension is because his cap hold can be kept artificially low. It's the Tyrese Maxey situation that the Sixers kind of correctly, I think, handled 7 years ago, just since I'm getting all the time frames wrong. When Tyrese Maxey was
like
15.
3 or 4 CBAs ago, I think.
Yeah. I think like 1998, 1999. It's just, it makes sense for the Jazz. The Jazz don't gain anything in extending him other than making him not frustrated. So they can wait, utilize the flexibility brought about by his lower cap hold, and then pay him. I don't think he's wrong to want to get this done because he's eligible, but I think he must also understand like why this is happening. I mean, what's your read on it?
Yeah, he's got to understand, but I also wonder how much of it does he believe because his name has been in rumors, and whether it's the Jazz that have put them there or not. If you sign an extension, yes, you could still be traded, but it is so much harder to trade him. And so he probably wants the stability of knowing he might be in one place for a full season, and I totally get it, but this is just this stuff is collectively bargained. Like, this is the reality of playing in the NBA, and we get why the Jazz are doing it. And look, there's also probably an element of them that wants to say, well, how much is this player worth? If he's going in there and asking for double his cap hold, $28-30 million a year, whatever it's going to be, his rim protection is transformational. But he's still, I know he was jacking threes last year, but I think they gave him the license to do that so that they could continue losing. We don't know what he looks like necessarily on a caps lock winning basketball team. Right. It might be just something to where if he was willing to sign something, like if he went in there and said he'd sign for $20 million a year and they weren't going to sign him to that, they are out of their minds. And so it's probably just the number he wants. You can't bridge a gap to where it makes sense for the team to, we'll raise your cap hold, but we are still rolling the dice. It's interesting that he said he was frustrated, and boy, if maybe it's Utah, so this won't be an issue, but like, he's got to go to Los Angeles 4 times a year. You don't think they're going to ask him? But, like, this is not the last time you're going to be asked about this extension, buddy. Between now and February, you're going to be asked about your future in Utah a bunch.
Yep. I mean, look, considering how little else there might be to talk about with this team this year, and as things continue to spiral, like, this is not only will he be asked about, he's going to be asked about it, like, increasingly often. Because, like, if you're frustrated now, like, what happens after the next, like, 0-15 run? Like, that, it's just going to be the main thing to talk about.
I was just going through the comments now regularly, so it'd be funny if a net won Rookie of the Year. Now, would it be funny or would it be? Yeah, it's also like, well, you took 5 first-round picks, so maybe it's expected. Like, that's what it should be.
Yeah, the fact that we don't think there's anyone on that team with it. Well, pick one right now. Which Nets rookie has? Yeah, that's right. The right answer.
You're already grinding film for when we do the Nets look ahead in like a week. I know it. Well, very quickly, do you think Walker Kessler is still on the Jazz past like into the summer, next summer?
Yeah, I do.
These players they're so hard to trade. They make so little money, and if they're about to, it's like, what do you give up? So yeah, I'd agree.
And I think he really is. I think they do view him as a core piece. He's certainly the closest thing they found among all their young guys to a core piece.
Unless you're just penciling Ace Bailey into that, which I mean, fine. Yeah. He is the closest thing they have to a cornerstone,
right?
At this
Which
point.
Is kind of it's kind of a problem. But that's
do you
where
think
we're
that
at.
Could be part of the hesitance of, well, how much do we want to commit to anybody long term when we don't know? And now that Austin Ainge is there, maybe he wouldn't have done the renegotiate and extend with Lowry, because you could say the pushback to what I just said would be like, well, they paid Lowry, and my pushback to that would be, and look how that turned out right now.
Yeah, fair. Let's talk some Memphis Grizzlies here. The big story here. Jock Landale, very important player all of a sudden because, well, not all of a sudden because we knew some of this ahead of time. All the big guys are hurt. Zach Edey, offseason ankle surgery. Jaren Jackson Jr., toe. Brandon Clark, knee issue. None of those three will be ready to start the season. So Zach Kleiman says getting Jock Landale was a priority for us. I guess. I mean, anytime you can give major minutes to a guy who's most famous for having several non-guaranteed years on his last contract, you got to do it, right? You got to lean on that guy.
I just want to know, how bad behind the scenes is it to deal with Jay Huff that a team that is so down bad in its healthy center rotation that they just traded him for a second-round pick? We're talking about like Miles Turner 3.0 right here, and they just gave him away. I hope people sense the tongue-in-cheek tone on that last part. This is kind of insane, right? Like, in the fact that he had to go on me, he's like, yeah, like Jock Landale was a priority, and it's like, I immediately questioned everything else about this franchise by a factor of 13% more. Where it's like, was Cedric Cowherd really like a good idea to go in and trade for? That is such a bad predicament for them to be in.
I mean, they're just, I don't know what else he can say. Well, just don't say Jock Landale is a priority. Say Jock Landale he's going to be an important player for us, at least at the outset this season. We're glad we have him.
Something like, we're glad that Santi Aldama can play 30-plus minutes
there
at the
you
five.
Go. You could say we're going to look at some real, back to small ball. I mean, like, Aldama at center is terrifying defensively, but, like, I don't know. I think I might look a little harder at something like that. Get Gigi Jackson out there more often just to have some size and athleticism. Like, Landale, that's like a break glass in case of emergency situation, not someone you prioritize getting because he's going to play a huge role.
When we do our win totals, which they're coming up, and join our Discord, and I'll probably post it on the YouTube community, but join our Discord if you want to be part of our over-under competition. When I miss on the Grizzlies, like I have been for 6 or 7 years running, I think it's six right. years running, it won't be. Typically, I feel very strongly about my take. This time, I'm going to miss while equivocating because I have no idea what to make of this team right now.
That's good. You got to try something different with the results you've been getting. So at least just the mental approach will be important. Will Orlando be a dribble handoff oasis with Desmond Bane? So Bane said he's excited to do more of that kind of stuff, and they've already been working on it in Orlando. Memphis did not do so much of that last year, nor did Memphis set screens. Had the fewest dribble handoffs in terms of frequency. They had been in the top 10 a couple years ago, for 2 years running, actually. So I don't know, like that Memphis offense, man. Like, is there ever been anything that was more interesting that everyone immediately decided sucked and they hated and they're never going to do it?
It was revolutionary at one point,
and then it was. I was most interested in
the Ben Taylor video on it for thinking basketball,
So, well, first of all, we've been not critical, but and others have pointed out, like, Desmond Bane, great addition. Tyus Jones, great addition. Is there enough spacing and offense, like, still in Orlando? So thoughts on the dribble handoff stuff? Like, is that a workaround for some of the restrictions this roster still has offensively?
I think it could be, and I know a lot of people might cite it for Paolo Banchero, even a Wendell Carter Jr., but isn't like you could use Franz Wagner in that action with Desmond Bane as well? Might be something worth trying there. But I think you just go back to the Kings teams that Mike Brown coached. They had some really good offensive peaks, and I think you looked at that roster and you never felt awesome about the spacing for the most part, because what were the shooters really on those teams? There was Keegan Murray, he's never really been a cap. He's had better shooting seasons. And again, last year he struggled. De'Aaron Fox's jumper, he's had one good year where he's been really above average. Yeah.
Right.
So I would say, and I think, look, especially if you can count on a bump from like a Paolo Banchero from beyond the arc and having Desmond Bane in there, I think it's a potential workaround. Now, I'm hoping this doesn't mean they're going to slow things down to make sure they get into some handoff actions, because I really want this team to play in transition for once. But I'm hashtag try stuff.
No, got to. How do you think Paolo Banchero felt about the acquisition of Desmond Bane?
He couldn't believe it, Grant. He was in awe. He didn't think they could get him.
I want to read some of the quote because it's I don't know. I had a feeling we were going to make a trade, but I felt, this is from Josh Robbins of The Athletic, just a portion credit where it's due. But I felt like there were some guys that were kind of up on the list who we would maybe trade for, at least in my head. And Desmond Bane was not one of them. So when I heard that one, I was like, Desmond Bane? I was like, and then earmuffs, kids. S word. He's a hell of a player. I was excited. Obviously, I feel like shit has kind of been like Buddy Hield crashed Jimmy Butler's media availability today, continuing their ongoing bit of like pretending to hate each other. And Buddy Hield just dropped a shit like in the middle of the media room, not literally. That would have been a story. And
Anthony
everybody
Edwards
laughed.
dropped another word during his media availability. Did you see that one?
Who did? I didn't hear that one.
Anthony Edwards.
Did he? Oh no.
Yeah.
He's making some choices.
Like that was whole separate matter. But yeah,
Okay.
it does feel like it has shit just entered the lexicon of like
I
you
think
could say it and we won't bleep it out.
I feel like it's following crap because crap used to, in my house growing up, crap was right up there with all the other four letters. You couldn't say it.
You're really good with time. So how many years ago was that?
75, I would say, or 2. It's somewhere in the middle. Yeah, I mean, of course, Paolo is excited about getting Desmond Bane. You get a career 40% shooter in there, like
especially if you thought you were going to get like Colin Sexton or somebody else. And
you
end up with
were
Desmond
amped
Bane.
about KCP at this time last year.
This is such a sad comment from Andrew. Dribble handles are the best. I am hopeful Orlando being a top 20 offense, and it's just
Look, don't some people say dream big? I think the Magic are dreaming realistic. Top 20.
Ambition is the enemy of success. I think
would be solid.
We could all agree there.
Let's go to the Knicks, Dan, because you just won't shut up about them. Not really. I feel like you almost don't
you want to
talk
know
about the Knicks. Who should the Knicks start? This isn't that hard of a question for me. I'm not starting Mitchell Robinson. Appears to be the early favorite. However, Mike Brown talking about getting up a bunch of threes, which his offensive rebounds have historically generated. So that's fun. Where are you on this? I don't know if I've ever, I'm sure I have, but like, do you have a firm answer? Should he be the starter or should it just be Josh Hart and you take care of Mitchell Robinson's health by managing his minutes?
My answer is actually neither. I think that it should be Deuce McBride.
Okay.
And my reasoning is before even Mike Brown had said what he said about wanting to get up 43-point attempts per game, is the whole premise of trading for Karl Anthony Towns was 5-out basketball. And even if you have Josh Hart on the floor, the rim pressure can be great. The transition stuff is fun. Good passer, rebounder, works defensively. Defenses do not care even when he's making threes.
Mm-hmm.
And last season, he wasn't making a ton of threes. I understand defense matters, but you can't build a team around Karl Anthony Towns as your highest paid player and really try to plan unless you have a generational defender around him, which you don't. You don't have Rudy Gobert. You don't have Giannis or like whoever you want to say there. Like OG, okay, great. He's not generational. Lean into offense. Deuce McBride comes in. That's a true 5-out, and you are ensuring because Grant, one of the biggest issues we had with Karl Anthony Towns last year, or not we, but that the Knicks had, was when teams would put smaller players on him, he basically disappeared. You think if he's playing with Mitchell Robinson, they're not going to put smaller players on. They're going to put a center on Mitchell Robinson and another smaller player on Towns. And you've now invited that because that's how the matchup should work because Karl Anthony Towns is your 4. And so I understand that, okay, what does the bench look like if Josh Hart and Mitchell Robinson are coming off it? That's where you worry about staggering. Or if you want to care about defense, try and build bench lineups that can defend. But I think that with McBride on the court, 5-out, he also helps insulate the two things that he does. Aside from the 5-out, he would then be someone who could defend at the point of attack, which guess who doesn't need to do that, Grant? Mikal Bridges. Guess who shouldn't be doing that, Grant? Mikal Bridges. Like, it just, to me, it makes too much sense. And I think that the only argument against it would be, well, you don't want to go to that lineup too quickly because then how do you build out the rest of your rotation? If we operate under the assumption that that needs to be a concern, I probably might start Josh Hart just because Mitchell Robinson's durability over the past 3 seasons has been basically horrible. And so I understand that you can manage minutes while starting a player, but if you want him healthy for the play, it just seems easier to tamp down a player's minutes if you know he's not going to be in the game for the first 5 to 8 of them. And again, then Karl Anthony Towns still has the chance because I don't think teams will be as gimmicky of throwing a smaller player on Towns during the regular season if he's playing next to Hart. During the playoffs, yeah, it's different. If you're playing him next to Mitchell Robinson, yes, sure. And look, there were flashes of that duo working in the playoffs. I'm leaning all the way into the offense. And it's not that I don't want to see the dual big look. Do you feel confident so you have dual bigs. Who do you want to be your 5 coming off the bench then? Yeah, you could stagger Karl Anthony Towns and Robinson, but if you're going to start both bigs, having a really good third big is inherently more important. Gershon Yabusele's not going to give you much defensively there. He'll give you some 5-out lineups. And then, so we're just betting on Ariel Huck-Porty being ready. I mean, sure. So I'm actually, I'm not saying to start Robinson would be actually insane. I think it's more insane that it doesn't seem like starting Deuce McBride is even an option within the Knicks. That's my read on it anyway.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea to just make it McBride because I mean, the shooting thing. That was an issue before it was announced. This wasn't a media day thing, but before it was announced that he's going to play the season with a splint on a finger on his shooting hand. Like
I mean, that was a media day thing. He just kind of revealed it. Then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. They had their media day a couple days ago, right? They're one of those teams. Yeah. I don't have as strong of an opinion about the Hart versus McBride thing, but to me, it just can't be Robinson. I just don't. For all the reasons you mentioned, and like just the idea that if you want to have the option to play double big, I guess situationally, probably in the playoffs for certain stretches. And I think keeping Robinson super managed all year is just easier off the bench. And I don't think there's huge gains to be had because when Cat is a 4, it's just like, what? Okay. Like what are you adding as I think the best version of the Knicks has Cat at the 5. Like it's just, that's just how it has to be.
Sounds like the Knicks are short a rotation player who can space and defend. Yeah, his name is Justin Champagnie, and they should go out and get him.
Isn't everybody? Let's move on to the Oklahoma City Thunder here. Just one quick item, I guess, here. Are the Thunder the most transparent team in the NBA? There's just Sam Presti just out here talking about J-Dub's offseason wrist surgery, which, one, concerning, but two, kind of funny that he's just like, once we get through camp, we'll see where we are. As with anything, it'll be a collaborative decision as to when he returns. Ultimately, he has to feel comfortable with when that is. Dan, do you read that as like, he can come back in December, we'll be fine? Like, just don't care, right? Like, that's where the Thunder are. And they don't need to mess around or lie about stuff.
I honestly just felt like it would be disrespectful not to include a media day note from the reigning champions. This is the no notes team. And Jalen Williams talked about how the injury was a blessing in disguise, that it forced him to be more creative with his training. I'm assuming that he's just going to come back with a dominant left hand now or something.
It was already good. Like, it's
right. And the fact that he was playing with the torn ligament in his wrist, I know he struggled, but like on the court defending like he was, doing some of the things like off the bounce that he was, look, he just made a deep playoff run. Give him a little bit of a break. I'm not concerned at all. I mean, I won't necessarily say the injury is a blessing in disguise. If he comes back with just sort of, I don't know, what else could he be more creative with? Sure, we could talk about it, but this team is just the 11 of 10 no notes team, and Sam Presti's just out here. It's not even, we know about the injury now, so it's not even like you don't need to be transparent. It's like we'll figure it out, guys. Why are you asking about this?
Yeah, let's get to LeBron. We made it a long time before we got to LeBron. That's why you should listen to what we say, because we're not just going to start and end with LeBron. We're going to bury him in past the 1 hour mark.
Well, honestly, what's more important, figuring out if Jock Landale can win Most Improved Player or talking about LeBron James's future? I ask you.
Right? I mean, let's keep the first thing the first thing. So predictably, because he is going into the season with an expiring contract for the first time ever, basically, or not basically, actually, there's some speculation as to whether he's thinking about retirement after this year. Did you see the clip of LeBron when it was on what is the word? I can't think. Behind the desk, basically, with some reporters, and just as they're like going to break, they said we'll see you next year, and he just before the video cuts, he goes maybe, and then they all laugh. So that was fun. And then says he's not thinking about it.
He gets it.
Yeah, he knows. He's in those meetings. So he made comments about how his contract situation's not going to factor into how he plays this year. Mentioned the MCL thing. What's your take on, is this a story, or is this just like it's LeBron and it's the only thing to talk about with him? Do you think he's considering retirement? What's your read on his general media day situation?
Well, I'll answer the first part. I do think it's a story just because, as you mentioned at the top, he's basically on an expiring contract or at least doesn't have control over the next year of his contract for the first time in how long?
Yeah.
But I will answer the other part of the question with another question. Do you think that when he does retire, or if he was going to retire, is he going to be someone who doesn't really announce it, or is he going to make it just based off maybe some of the ad campaigns we've seen from Nike that there's going to be a lot of pomp and circumstance?
I have to believe there's going to be an announcement, and then he'll just be, there'll be what's like ceremonies at every road arena.
Right.
Like, right.
And by the way, I know that we probably make fun of LeBron a lot, and a lot of other people do as well. He deserves it. Like, this is just the longevity he has displayed has been absolutely absurd. And we've reached the point. I started getting there, not really this past season, the season before at some point. I'm really trying to soak in just LeBron, the basketball player, because I feel like sometimes we're not allowed to enjoy things, and like we have to be cynics on everything. And I understand that to some extent, but like he's going to not play anymore. And at some point, and it's going to suck. Like, this is no worse than the second greatest basketball player of all time. And he is, to me, just the greatest basketball player of all time because of the, 23. Yeah. Like, this is year 23, and he just made second team All-NBA.
Well, and, like, the last two that really got me were Dirk and Duncan. And they had, like, sunset phases, right, in their careers that were very different from what they were at their apex. Like, so to your point about soaking it in, like LeBron's not 2011 Heat LeBron, like that guy, that of course not. But like his sunset phase is like insanely close to like the best version of him. So like all the more reason to enjoy this, because like what he's doing is not how it normally goes for guys that are like maybe he'll retire. Like compare him to like Vince Carter's was the only other guy to play 22 seasons. Like end stage Vince Carter was not anything close to like apex Vince Carter. LeBron is like, I don't know, if you're watching in standard definition, you might not know the difference like from night to night. So like that, all the more reason to, if he gets all the flowers for sure. I just think I think the retirement thing is interesting because what it reflects is this is the first time that he's not in full control of his fate, because it used to be, well, what's going to happen with LeBron, and like what about this contract situation? And the answer was always like, what will happen is whatever LeBron wants to happen, because he has that clout, like he deserves it. And so, is he going to be traded? Yeah, if he wants to. Is he going to sign a 2-year extension, a 3-year, a 4? Well, it depends on what he says he wants to sign. Like that's the difference now, is like, because he didn't get another 1+1, it's just evident that, this is a very new chapter where he's not the most important figure on his team. He doesn't just get whatever he wants. And so like, that is why retirement comes into play. Cause maybe he's like, I don't like how this feels. I liked it before when I was in charge of the whole deal.
Right. That's a really great point. And the other thing with this too is the level of just scrutiny everything is receiving already. I saw on social media, because Luka Doncic did his availability first, it's proof that like the Lakers timeline has changed. Like Luka Doncic, and like that's what we're in for the entire year. And do you think that I just don't? This situation is so weird, right? Because you saw Rob Pelinka when him and JJ Redick, I'm sure, did their media availability, that they said we're hopeful LeBron retires here. I don't even know. If he left the Lakers, I don't think they're going to trade him unless he asks for it. But if they make it to the end of the season and he's a free agent, does he just try to leave? I haven't even given a thought to, would LeBron ever be the guy that just takes whatever money to go back to or go to Team X? I haven't even reconciled, forget retirement. I haven't even reconciled, like, I just assumed he was going to continue playing. What is going to happen in Los Angeles if he does continue playing?
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, framed that way, it almost feels more likely that he's on a different team next year, just because if he was going to be on the Lakers next year, why wouldn't there be a 1+1, or why wouldn't there just be a straight 2-year? Or
them
something?
Not offering him a new deal is, I honestly, it probably did get enough attention. We're so far removed from that. Was like 8 years ago we found out about it.
Yeah.
Before we move on, I have a question for who said this quote.
Oh, great!
See if you could get it. It's literally my dad, Bronny James, or the 2018 Raptors.
Who would the 2018? I think it's both. I think they both have basically said something like that. Let's get to the other LA team, because man, this was the first opportunity for Kawhi to say anything. And is there a name for what's happening? Is it Aspiration Gate? That doesn't really roll off the tongue.
We got to get rid of Gate.
You don't like Gate? It is a little outdated. I don't. We need listener submissions for this. What do we call this?
It's got to be something with trees or carbon.
Or like,
credit,
well, you can work Pablo into it somehow, since he's like the the most important figure in all this. So Kawhi said he doesn't pay attention to this kind of stuff when asked about it. He and the Clippers didn't do anything wrong. I think he said basically like we committed no wrongdoings or something like that.
He called it a conspiracy too, right?
Called it a conspiracy, clickbait, used like basically said journalism in air quotes, more or less. So just like very dismissive, evasive. I had a couple quotes here that I really wanted to sorry, before I get to those, the latest, because this keeps trickling out. Pablo Torre finds out, reported that Steve Ballmer donated another $1.875 million to a Charity of Aspiration co-founder under a different charitable charity name. The same co-founder who conned him. This was a year and a half after the Clippers ended their original deal. The feds were closing in. So there's just like more of this stuff keeps coming out. I wanted to read this specific one to get your take on it. So Lawrence Frank, Clippers executive, was asked by Ramona Shelburne whether Dennis Robertson, Kawhi Leonard's uncle, has ever asked the team for any extra benefits that would not be permissible under the NBA's rules. Frank said, Dennis knows the rules, Kawhi knows the rules, Mitch Frankel knows the rules, and we know the rules. Ramona follows up and says, is that a yes or a no? And Lawrence Frank goes, yes, we all know the rules. So, Dan, does that was a real opportunity to say, nobody asked for anything and we didn't give anything, or they asked for something and we said no because we know the rules. Frank didn't say any of that. Is that the most evasive and the most like I need to protect my ass legally, like evasive answer you've ever heard?
So I'm hearing that quote for the first time. I didn't see it. My answer would be yes, but you watched it, right?
I watched it.
So what do you think?
So this is like when you read it, it's like that can't be what he said, because or it's like because that seems so evasive and like
Correct.
Smug. The video, it's as smug and evasive as it looks on paper. Like it was pretty incredible. Now, in fairness, I don't know what the 5 minutes before that question looked like or the 5 minutes after. I read the quote. I sought out the actual video clip of Frank answering the questions. To me, it looks as bad as it reads. And it was a really rough look. And then Kawhi also had a non-answer. We already referenced it. Asked specifically by ESPN if he ever performed any services for what Torre reported was a 4-year, $28 million contract, the no-show contract we've been talking about. Leonard said, I don't think it's accurate, but it's old. This is all new to you guys. The company went bankrupt a while ago. Again, just like a non-answer. And then talks about the conspiracy. So it's just like the Clippers had opportunities to state their case here if they wanted to. Maybe they don't just because there's going to be an investigation. But man, nobody's doing anything in terms of like a full-throated denial. Like that's
except for Mark Cuban. I can't, man. Katie Heindel wrote a piece over Basketball Feelings about this. Obviously, it encapsulated my feelings perfectly, and she's so good at this aspect of covering the league. Mark Cuban just like really pandering to everybody, like in calling Pablo Torre's reporting just entertainment. It's just so. I'm not even saying that there can't be pushback against what Pablo Torre is reporting, but this assumption that just because Steve Ballmer is a billionaire, because Mark Cuban is a billionaire, they're smarter than everyone else. They can't possibly make a mistake like this. And even if, and we don't know, but even if there's nothing like sinister here, you can't say that this reporting isn't worth further exploration. All these, just even look at the dollar amounts and how they line up to what certain payments were and the timing behind them. You don't, again, if there is an explanation, one, the Clippers have yet to give an adequate one publicly. I think that's fair to say. And two, it was at least further exploration in the first place. And so just miss me with this bullshit that this isn't worth talking about. If you want to get into, are we just assuming they're all guilty because the circumstantial evidence is piling up? Well, there's a discussion to be had there, but the circumstantial evidence here seems pretty freaking damning.
So I actually, this latest thing that came out, like the first two Pablo Torre episodes, I just watched in full because I was like, this is riveting, right? Like the first one had me, and then the second one where you get the Dennis Wong and you get the other stuff is just like, oh, wow, super compelling. I didn't even pay that close of attention to this latest one because I've already reached the point where it's like, this is more than enough. Now the only thing that interests me now is the Clippers coming out and giving a rational explanation for why this isn't what it looks like it is, right? Like you talk, like there's a legal concept of like burden shifting where it's just like you're making assertions at some point. The weight is so great that it's now the other side's burden to like refute what's being said. It's like, so the evidence, to your point, the circumstantial evidence is like overwhelming. Mark Cuban seems to be the only one that disagrees with that because he's like poking holes and like asking like questions of, well, why aren't we focused on the payments that the other payments that weren't made or things like that? And it's just like, I don't care now. Now it's on the Clippers to me. Like you have to give some explanation. We passed the point of needing any more, right? And now it's just the other side's got to say something compelling because it's just otherwise like what are we doing?
And isn't it that everything you said especially true in this case because we're not in a court of law to where like the burden would be on Pablo Torre or the league to prove that something happened, to where based off the CBA everyone's interpreted that clause differently. It seems that there would be, if Adam Silver wanted to, if he wanted to lay down the hammer, based off what that says, it seems like there's more than enough for him to do so. And the Clippers have just not come out and said anything that's remotely convincing. And it's just, like you said with Lawrence Frank, that was evasive. It was I don't know if it quite verges on a non-answer, but it's like it was word salad.
He was given the opportunity to say, no, we didn't. Well, he didn't say, no, we didn't break the rules. He said, we know the rules. That's not an answer. Like
that's just going to make it worse if you're found guilty.
If you're in court and a witness gives that answer to that question, you immediately object and say non-responsive because he didn't answer the question. Like that's not where we are, but that's what would happen if we're an actual court of law. No. So like, I don't know. I don't know where this goes. So we've talked about the punishments in the past, like what might be on the table. If you had to guess right now, like, is this, what do you think we're looking at? If the league does interpret its powers as it does seem to be laid out in the CBA, where circumstantial evidence is enough and it is incumbent on sort of the accused here to provide a rational explanation for what this is, like, what is do you have a guess now? I mean, we haven't talked about this in a while on this specific point of it.
It's so tough because I think that you could easily say that too much of the evidence is circumstantial, and just knowing how Adam Silver's NBA has enforced tampering specifically, I know a lot of people have said, yeah, we're just curious how many first round picks it's going to be. I still remain unconvinced that multiple first round picks. I don't. Like I've seen, there's been I think it was on Zach Lowe's pod. They had the discussion of like, can you take away picks that aren't even eligible to be traded yet?
Right.
And I'm like, have we really reached that? I guess we haven't seen, aside from the Donald Sterling stuff with Adam Silver, but that evidence was just he was on tape, was so overwhelmingly obvious that to basically get him to sell the team, would you still be surprised, or are you there? Do you think that this is going to be a multiple, like if you set the over-under of 1.5 first-round picks docked from the Clippers, man, what does it say about the culture of us covering the league that I just turned this entire ordeal into a betting line?
Right. It says we're keeping up with the times. So
seems a little sus to me, Grant.
What you said concerns me because I kind of agree with, like, this still feels like a thing where the NBA can decide how big of a deal do we want this to be for, like, the wrong reasons, like decide this not on the merits, right? Because the way things are worded and the way Adam Silver might want to interpret this, the league might just decide, well, there's no signed illegal contract that we can find that proves this. There's no emails or phone calls or whatever.
What is that supposed to say? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to, like, you actually, like, they're going to sign something that says, we agree to circumvent this.
That's the problem. Well, because I'm not saying I'm saying that's the wrong way to approach it. But, like, you could, if you just wanted this to go away, be like, we don't want to set the precedent of, some flimsy paper trail being sufficient to dock a team draft picks and find it, to be in violation of all this. Like, we don't want to, we're going to need real concrete, which that's bullshit, because the CBA does allow for circumstantial evidence to prove a case. And because the thing I've most been hung up on is, like, the Clippers have to explain this, or they should be punished, right? Like, it's kind of the same burden shifting argument. They have to explain this. And so, like, at this point, I think the right result is for the league to say, explain it. And then when the Clippers can't do that, the hammer has to drop. And so got to be over the 1.5 first round picks. It's got to be everything, I think, because if they can't give a reasonable explanation for what this actually is, and they haven't tried, maybe because they're just really holding back, like people accuse Pablo of, for, like, saving some ammo to, like, throw back at Cuban piecemeal. Like, I'm just, this seems like what it is. It seems like what Pablo has reporting suggests it is. And so it should be the whole thing. All the picks, and $7 million fine, the suspend Bomber, whatever.
Which is, the $7 million fine is such a joke for Bomber.
Yeah.
My thing is, wouldn't you also, so let's just say the NBA decides that this is, and this would factor in the Board of Governors now too, that decides, okay, something's amiss here. Like, this clearly happened. This is what it was. Is the incentive for them to lay down the hammer that you're talking about, to dissuade other teams from, to set a precedent of, this is what will happen where it's almost like, I guess, as time separated us from the Joe Smith ordeal, or you thought because you didn't have an agreement signed with the player in question specifically, it was going to be fine? Or are you, and I think we've talked about this a little bit, it seems like the prevailing sentiment among, like, fellow owners has been, no, you have to hit him for it. And I think I would agree with that, but could there be a level of hesitance here from other owners not wanting to see the hammer come down on Bomber? Because what if that does happen to them? Yeah. That's where I go back, and because I think, look, if the league believes that something is fishy here, or that this happened, that this was salary cap circumvention, which they have said themselves is a cardinal sin, you should just lay down the hammer then. Like, if that's what you believe.
Yeah.
But I'm also so far removed from it that I wonder if that's the same discussion that they're having, is that they're worried about other teams doing this, or are they worried about, Adam Silver works for the other owners. Is he worried about appeasing them? And how would they truly feel? Do they want to see Bomber get hit like that? So I still remain torn on that front too.
I think whatever discussions they're having will cover all of that. And that is kind of a thorny issue. And I think it will be a talking point whenever this gets decided. I think there's a bigger reason that other owners should want the full punishment to be laid down, and that is the fan sentiment and public perception side of things. Now, this isn't game fixing. This isn't gambling. This isn't, like, truly affecting, like, the integrity of the competition, which would be like that. Talk about a cardinal sin. Like, that's it. Anything that does that. But it's close enough, and I think fans would have enough of an issue. Like, all the, like, tinfoil hat, like, games are fixed and all this other stuff, like, those people would get a lot more, like, right thinking people persuaded by this if this is sort of, like, loosely enforced, because it does affect competitive balance. Like, if Ballmer or whatever other deep pocketed owner can get a player he otherwise wouldn't have gotten, and like, say Kawhi stays healthy and the Clippers make some finals or win a title or something, like, I think fans and the public's perception of the league there'd be a big enough issue and enough fallout from that to that, like, were there to be no punishment, that, like, this is bullshit. What are we watching? Like, what are the rules even for if the richest owners can just can just do whatever they want to pay players whatever they want outside of the confines of the CBA? Like, that to me seems like the biggest problem that should inform the punishment here, assuming the Clippers did what it seems like they did, right? Like, that's the biggest issue. If you have fans tuning out because this is all, like, phony or, like, not competitively, there's no competitive integrity, at least financially, like, that's a huge deal.
Do you think, though, because the Clippers never even came close to winning a title during this era, and then now if you let time kind of separate us from the heat of this moment, which I'm assuming Pablo Torre podcasts and updates will eventually stop. And they've already said, which I saw people up in arms that of course this is going to not be resolved until after the All-Star break. I probably made that joke too, but like this wasn't going to be something where the league came out on opening night and docked the Clippers a bunch of picks. But so you don't think there's a possibility though that, I don't even want to say the benefit of time, but the like time erodes the outrage over this? And like, because like you said, if they had the Clippers won a title, even made a finals, like maybe it's a different story, but I'm just wondering how much outrage there'll be when it's, all right, if they were going to win at that level at any point, it would have happened already. Like, because they're good now, but no one's picking them to come out of the West. And yes, if the Clippers are the 1 seed or something as we get into the All-Star break, this will be rekindled. I'm just curious, and I only say this, and I'm not just going to bring up examples because they're so morbid, but the way that society just moves on from so much other shit, I can't sit here and just believe that we're all like principled enough to like really be like following up. Like me and you are going to do a check-in on this every other week or something throughout the season.
Our attention spans are destroyed, and like there will just be some new shitty thing to distract us or whatever. That's all true. I just think like, this doesn't seem to be how it works in the broader world at the moment, but like any system that has a set of rules that doesn't enforce them when broken, if there's not really any harm, like that's a fucked up set of rules. Like what's the point of rules? You know what I mean? Like what's the point of rules if nobody gets punished for breaking them unless in this instance, the Clippers won a title. Oh, we got to enforce it now. Like that doesn't make any sense. Like the rules exist so everyone follows them regardless of sort of like the outcome of breaking. I'm messing up my analogy, but like, you know what I mean? Like it shouldn't matter that they didn't win a title to us insofar as we care about the rules being enforced. Like that shouldn't be a factor.
One, I don't know who has the Grant F-bomb counter going, but we can finally jack it up by 1, which I think might bring his total to 2 on this
I only
podcast.
drop it after around the 90-minute mark of a long pod.
And then 2, I would agree with you, and I know this is on a different level, but like, don't you think we would have seen something with more forceful with tampering then? Shouldn't it be kind of a bigger deal what the Knicks did with Jalen Brunson?
I'm being naive because you're right. Like the reason tampering doesn't get enforced is because there's a whole industry that loves the news leaks and like the speculation and all this stuff. Right?
Really?
So
what industries do we? I wouldn't want to work in that.
I know some people that
we just talked about Giannis trade rumors.
Make a decent living off of it. But yeah, no, I think that's fair. This seems like a big enough deal to where it's different.
I feel the same way, but you use the word. I feel like I'm naive about it to where it's just we think that not that we got him, but we think like something's really gonna come from this. And then it just won't. I just have one final question on this. I don't know if you read the Athletic piece last week. They did like a profile of Uncle Dennis, it really is funny. They pointed out that he's known as Uncle Dennis. And you know immediately who everyone's talking about. Right. You don't need to go with his full name. Do you assign any blame? Is there any like discontent on your part towards Kawhi / Uncle Dennis, or is this just all they did was ask? The systems in place are supposed to prevent that, and the Clippers didn't. And this is all on them I'll begin by saying this. Honestly, don't know how to feel. I'm not a very persistent person in the sense of when I was doing reporting and on-site stuff, I ended up being really bad at it because I viewed myself as an intrusion upon people's lives by being persistent. The idea of Uncle Dennis continuously asking for these outrageous things and having no shame about it makes me uncomfortable. But he's also kind of the advocate for Kawhi Leonard and has done a bunch of great things and you said it as a joke a few weeks ago, but find the Uncle Dennis and you're like, who wouldn't want someone like you advocating for that? At the same time, you could push back and say, is that like behavior you want to be associated with or remembered by with Kawhi? And then you come back and say, well, how has it really hurt Kawhi? And is that NBA teams haven't wanted him because of this? Has been the exact opposite.
I would say I'm getting real cynical now as we're winding down. Like, it seems like there's a pretty direct correlation between people who don't have those same compunctions that you and I do about being an intrusion or being like pushy or like asking for things that are outside the rules. Like those people tend to be pretty successful and make a lot of money because they're not held back by the concerns about, am I being an asshole? Like, like that would like that. So I wouldn't. I would. How about this? I think there is a case to be made that like Uncle Dennis is just being an awesome advocate. Like he's doing the best he can for Kawhi, like any representative should do for the person he or she represents. It's on the team to be like, no, that's illegal. We can't do that. Don't ask again. Like, but at the same time, like, while that seems like, yeah, he's being a good representative, it's the team's responsibility. If you're like raising a kid, be like, don't be that way. That's like that. Don't ask someone to break the rules if you know what the rules are. That's like not what a good person does. So like maybe that's where I land on. It's like that's not a cool thing to do. But if you're trying to just selfishly, or I guess by proxy selfishly, do the best you can for the person you're representing, like that is how you're going to get the best stuff. That is how you're going to get what you want. Unfortunately.
We have a question in the chat. Don't you think this has a chance to harm Kawhi's legacy?
What legacy? What is his legacy?
Yeah, because it's not associated with the way he won either of his titles. If anything, I guess you could backtrack and say because Uncle Dennis was at the heart of his departure from San Antonio, he ends up in Toronto, but maybe it would be different. His legacy is going to be one of what if, because he won 2 titles and then had all those injuries. I think that will always be the bigger chunk of his legacy. Then I don't know what would need to happen with this for it to, like, I guess if the Clippers got docked, bilked to 5 first-round picks, would that he would come up more often? But I still think he'll be. Sorry, go ahead.
I think either way, this is in the first paragraph of his Wikipedia entry, like of the short version of the Kawhi Leonard.
Is that how we're measuring legacies?
Well, it's just like if you're 30 years from now, Kawhi Leonard won a title with the San Antonio Spurs and then later with the Raptors, was embroiled in a cap circumvention scandal towards the end of his career with the Clippers amid injuries. Like, it's like titles, injuries, this thing. It's all going to be right at the top, I think.
I think it will be more of a legacy stainer for Steve Ballmer and this Clippers era than it will be for Kawhi. I don't know whether that's right or wrong, but I think that's what will ultimately end up happening.
Well, we'll lump all this in with like the Clippers were just such a ne'er-do-well franchise forever. Like the jump from Sterling to this will be just like, same old Clippers,
Wow, yeah, especially with the passage of time, or I guess in Grant years, this could be next summer that we're all like.
It's only like 10 years apart. It's gonna be. It might as well have been a week, as far as I'm concerned.
We have one more topic to get to, right?
Why didn't we end with the Clippers? So we clocked this like separately because Jeremy Grant said he does not expect to come off the bench, and then you had some more here. What's going on with their lineup decisions? Because maybe you could say this was easy to see coming when they kind of 2-timelined it with Drew Holiday coming in and young players. Now you've got Scoot Henderson with a torn hamstring. Don't like torn, by the way. Can we just say strained? Because when did we start using torn and it's a 1 to 2 month thing?
They say the same? Isn't like every sprain
every
technically
sprain's
a tear?
Okay, yeah. But like don't say torn. Say strain or whatever. Robert Williams, shocker, hasn't fully recovered from left knee surgery. This sucks. Like he just, can't. It's been years and years of this with just can't get all the way right physically. So how does that affect the logjam at center that still exists even without DeAndre in there? Like, what are we doing with this lineup? Who should play? Like, does Jeremy Grant seriously think he's going to start? That seems wild to me.
It becomes a little bit easier, I guess, now that Scoot's out, because I think you just do Tamani, Klingon, Drew, Jeremy, and Shaden, and then you're done. But when
you're not starting Denny Avdia,
holy shit!
So the forwards,
I'm tired.
The forwards,
so it's
the forwards have got to be Denny and Tamani. Or first names with all of them. Drew, Shaden, Klingon,
Donovan. So I guess is Shaden coming off the bench then? If Jeremy Grant's starting, Shaden's the one, because you can't bring Tamani or Denny off the bench. That is bananas.
Well, and I don't love the Tamani, Denny, Grant wing combo. Like
with Drew, I mean, there's a lot of defense with Klingon. That's a really hell of a defensive lineup.
I mean, I think if
Matisse Thybulle, by the way, was saying that they could throw out some pretty terrifying defensive lineups, and I agree.
That's accurate. Also, a lot of talk today, independent of the lineup stuff, of like they're really going to run, which, like, yeah, that sounds good to me. I think that's the way to do it.
They're not going to run with the starting lineup we just laid out. I mean,
I don't know.
Donovan
Klingon's best shape of his life, Dan. I don't know if you heard. He lost 15 pounds.
Is he also shooting threes? And
probably.
Gained 10 pounds. So, who should start? Like, here's my thing. The variable that we're probably not accounting for enough is that Tamani Kamara is extension eligible, and if he doesn't sign one, like, is he going to be sitting here trying to play for his next contract? Shaden Sharp, is he going to get an extension? And if you bring Shaden Sharp off the bench after not giving him an extension, the politicking there is so bizarre. This isn't like a terrible situation. They have a lot of good players, but at some point they need to divorce themselves. I'm using Jeremy Grant as the billboard for it, but like, divorce yourself from this idea that you need to start Jeremy Grant. Divorce yourself from this idea that even Drew Holiday needs to start. I think right now, yeah, sure, Scoot is out, but if you still believe in him and Shaden, you have to. And even if you want to say starting's overrated, well, okay, how are you closing games with this team? Does Jeremy Grant expect to be on the court in crunch time too? They have a lot of options in a good way, but their timelines there's just such a dichotomy between them. I don't know. It's bizarre. So who would you start?
The non-negotiables to me are Kamara and Avdia. Like, no one is starting over those two. And so to me, that means Jeremy Grant's not starting, because I'm not starting him at the 2 and I'm not starting him at the 5. So that leaves Klingon at the 5. Drew's got to start. I don't know if Scoot. I think I would have had Scoot and him start together and Sharp come off the bench. So now I guess I'm starting Sharp, because I don't want Jeremy Grant and Avdia and Kamara together. That doesn't make sense to me. But if maybe the squeaky wheel gets the grease, maybe if Jeremy Grant's going to make a thing out of it, Sharp is the one that comes off the bench. I wouldn't do that. I agree with everything you said, but now I'm wondering, okay, so that's your starting lineup. What happens when Scoot comes back? Is it easier to say, well, Scoot, you got injured again, you're coming off the bench? Or are the Blazers thinking maybe Sharp will start the season coming off the bench because that's where he's going to stay? We'll put Scoot in for Jeremy Grant when he returns from his injury. I'm not trying to give that path merit. Yeah, I'm just wondering if that's a thought. That's a possibility. I mean, Sharp did come off the bench for stretches last year, right? He wasn't like a guaranteed starter, as I recall. So that's not ideal, because you want him to seize that job and have him become a non-negotiable, but that hasn't happened yet. I guess I think maybe the way it goes is, like, you can sort of justify to Scoot, like, because you're behind, you're coming off this injury, you want to manage your minutes. Like, maybe he's the one that you're going to get away with coming off the bench, but that doesn't solve the Jeremy Grant problem either. So I don't know. This does feel like they kind of put themselves in this position with the way they put the roster together, doesn't it?
Maybe, but I think if you're getting strong-armed by Jeremy Grant, you have bigger problems as an organization.
Should not be able to strong-arm you after last year.
So, like, you paid him, like, this is what he signed up for too. Like, you knew that Dame was on his way out when you stayed here. So I would bring him off the bench now and for the rest of the season. And even that just doesn't take care of it, because one of Shaden or Scoot, it seems like, unless you're leaving Drew or starting without a big, and I would argue they're more likely to start Jan Hansen than they are to play without a big to begin games.
Right. They've like several teams, they've just got a logjam up front. No, I think that's right. I think, like, if Jeremy Grant had like, I don't know what a normal Jeremy Grant season is, but had a much better year than he had last year, there'd be a case. But he just didn't play well enough. Like, that's kind of the long and short of it, right? And he's, like, not a future piece for them by any stretch. Like,
it's also just amazing because, and we have a comment, Dame's here to be the leader to stop guys from complaining about the role. I didn't think about that, so hopefully he can take. But also, Dame's not even like, imagine if Dame was playing this season, how much more complicated this entire thing gets.
Yeah. No, I think we'll get the right result there eventually. We did it.
Do you have anything else, or? Yeah, we got through it. I think we wanted to do this in like $1:15. What we say, 3 minutes per what item we had, so we definitely went over. But
yeah, well, we had to go 2 hours on the Clippers. Pretty good. I have nothing to add. Do you have anything to add?
Well, I do. Did you hear that Jay Huff found out about his trade to the Indiana Pacers while hiding in a pantry during a game of hide and seek? I think that's per Tony East of Forbes.
He must have been very confident in his hiding spot to be on the phone in there, because the light might have been visible to any good seeker is going to be looking for light coming
He's
through.
Clearly better at hide and seek than he is basketball. Is what we're the thing.
Got to be pretty hard to hide as a 7-footer. How big is this pantry?
Right. I mean, he's definitely one of the. Have you ever seen like professional tag?
Oh yeah.
They have like competent like living room where there's furniture and stuff. Now I'm imagining that he plays that, so maybe he plays competitively with that. Like, it's a hide and seek situation there.
We need to start. It's $1 million idea. We should.
The next Hardwood Knocks Summit, there will be a massive game of hide and seek among the sickos.
Oh man. Thanks everybody for listening, for watching. Thanks for all the comments. Really appreciate that. Thanks to the NBA for Media Day and just content-rich comments and controversies, I guess. Not really. Please remember, rate, review, subscribe. Leave us positive reviews. You can hype this YouTube video if you want to. That's a fun new thing. Also, thumbs up. And leave us some comments there. Let us know what you think, if we missed anything. All that good stuff. Join our Discord. Links for that in the YouTube and podcast description. Over-under competition coming up. You're going to want to get in on that so you can beat us, which not most, but a lot of people typically do.
Well, a lot of people beat me last year. I think you were middle of the pack. A lot of people beat me last year.
It still might have been a majority got me. But anyway, join our Discord there. I think that's going to cover it. Thanks as always. Shouts, Frank Ntilikina. Apologies, Jarrett Allen.